Hi, my name is Christina and I'll be solving quadratic functions. Before we begin this process, I would like to let you know that we will be finding the roots of quadratic function, and by finding the roots, we will actually graph a function, and then after that, we're going to do vertex form. So what you have to know is that quadratic functions have standard form and they have factored form, and the standard form is f of x equals ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0, or it could be ax squared plus bx plus c. The ax squared is the leading coefficient, and while c is the constant. Factored form, it could be written as f of x equal x plus n, or x plus n, or x minus n. And it's just basically if you multiply it, it will go back to standard form. And it could be either way, it does not matter. And you have to remember that the leading coefficient is really important, and I will tell you later why. And then we have vertex form, which is f of x equals a parentheses x minus h close parentheses at squared plus v. And then for the quadratic formula, it is negative b plus or minus square root of b squared minus 4ac divided by 2a. And the quadratic formula is very important because when you want to find the zeros of a quadratic function, then it is very important to use the quadratic function, or you can just factor it out if you know how to. So right here, I have a equation x squared plus 2x minus 8, and it is in standard form, and the leading coefficient is positive, so I know that my graph will have a minimum, and I will tell you why later. So a equals 1, b is equal to 2, and c is equal to negative 8. So in factor form, when I factor it equals x plus 4 and x minus 2. And I know the zeros will happen at negative 4 and at 2. And I will prove this if I want to make sure that I did it right, then I'll use a quadratic formula. And some people use a quadratic formula, which is the long and hard way. But sometimes it is you need to use a quadratic formula. So the quadratic formula is negative b plus or minus square root of b squared minus 4ac divided by 2a. And I just want to tell you that b squared minus this is a discriminant. And if this whole thing becomes a negative, then you will have something that is imaginary, and it'll be a whole nother session to do that on that. So negative 2 plus or minus square root of 2 squared minus 4 times negative 8 divided by 2. And it is negative 2 because b is equal to positive 2. So if b was negative 2, then that becomes 2 because it's negative. So now I got negative 2 plus or minus square root of 4 minus 4 times negative 8 divided by 2. And right now I got the equation to equal negative 2 plus or minus square root of 4 plus 32 divided by 2, and this whole thing becomes, the discriminant becomes 36, and I know that 36 is a perfect square, so it becomes 6. So now what I do is negative 2 plus and minus 6 divided by 2, and negative 2 plus 6 is equal to 4 divided by 2, which equals 2, and negative 2 minus 6 is equal to negative 8 divided the whole thing by 2, which equals negative 4. So if you remember back in the beginning, I told you that the zeros will happen at negative 4 and 2, and this negative matches with this. So I know that my quadratic formula and my factored is, I did my equation and factored right. So based on the information I got, I know that the equation will be, the graph will look like this because it has a minimum. And just remember, if the graph has a maximum, if the leading coefficient is negative, then the graph will be a maximum. And if the leading coefficient is a positive, let me write that down, is a positive, then the graph will be a minimum. So since the leading coefficient of this equation was a positive, so that means that the graph is a minimum. So I know that this is right. And then the zeros, and then the graph, the y-intercept. So right now I have this new equation, 3x squared minus 6 minus 24, and I did the same thing again. So a equals 3, b equals negative 6, c 24, and a is equal to 3. This is what you see. So it's not 1. So I tried to get into the simplest factored form. So I did, since all those equations have 3 in common, so I had to take out a 3, and then I multiply it, so x squared minus, so 3 times negative 2x equals negative 6, and 3 times 8, negative 8 actually is 24. So I know I'm doing it right. And then from that on, I know that I can simplify it to its simplest form. So when I simplify it, I know that there will be a 0 at 4, x equals 4, and then there will be a 0 at x equals negative 2. So, yeah. So for now, we're going to do vertex form. To find the x of a vertex form, you equal x equals negative b over 2 times a. And the vertex form is a parentheses x minus h parentheses squared plus v. And we need to find the vertex of this equation. So I did the same thing. It's always good to know what a, and b, and c is, because it will make your life much easier. So a is equal to 2, b is equal to negative 6, and c equals to 11. So from that information I got, so I put it in there. I input the given information to this equation, and I got 3 over 2. So you can see how I did it. Now, what I'll do is plug in the x that I got from the previous equation and plug it in to the standard form. And whenever I see an x and I input the x that I got from the equation, negative b over 2 times a, and then I did this, and this is what I got, to 13 over 2. So take a good look at it. Take a good look. So x is equal to 3 divided by 2, and y is equal to 13 over 2. So next we have another equation, equals 3x squared plus 5 minus 4, and then I did the same thing again. So negative b over 2 times a, and then a is equal to 3, b equals to 5, c equals to negative 4. And when I did all this, I got the equation to equal 5 over 6. So let me put f of 5, actually negative 5 over 6. I'm sorry. It is negative 5 over 6. Because b is 5, so when I put a negative, it will be negative 5 over 6. So now, so when I did it, negative 5 over 6. So when I did this, I got in 3 equals 25 over 36 minus 25 over 6, the minus 4. So I tried to get the whole equation to equal, to have the same common denominator. So I multiply everything, since this is 36 and stuff. So I multiplied this times, like, this 2 equals 36. And this times this equal, to have a common denominator to equals 36. And when I did that, I got negative 219 over 36. Sorry for this. Sorry. I got negative 5 equals 36. So for now, what I did was to try to get this equation to its simplest form, and I got negative 73 over 12. So I know that b plus, or b is, x is equal to negative 5 over 6, and y is equal to negative 73 divided by 12. And this is my quadratic formula, just to make sure that I did it right. I'll put it back in for you to really see and stuff. And this is how the equation looks like. Yeah. And I just want to go back to the point. So when I did this equals negative, yeah, all this whole thing. So when it's all said and done, I got negative 5 plus or minus square root of 73 over 6. And this is what I got. So 0 equals 5 in this. So now what I'll do is just graph the equation, and this is what I got. So here is an equation for you guys to do and get back to me on how did it go. So have a nice day and have a good day. Enjoy.